everybody. So we're going to do a memorial service or program for Parvat Muni, Prabhu, who left his body about 3 days ago, almost exactly 3 days ago, in Mayapur Dham. And so I guess we'll start by, well, this will be the outline. I'll give you an outline of the program. We'll start by chanting for a few minutes. Sorry? Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you, Kartals. And then we will, Devavrata has requested that he could be the first person to speak because he was there when Parvat Muni arrived in Mayapur, and he kind of would like to narrate the story of how things kind of fell in place for Parvat. And then we'll share our memories, and I have some things, interesting things I found about dying in the Holy Dham, which I could share with everybody. And we have a letter that Giriraj Maharaj wrote, and some pictures, which unfortunately I was hoping to be able to show up on the screen there, but we couldn't get the technical sophistication together to do it, so I'll just have to pass them around or have everybody come and have a look. And then some devotees, old friends of his, sent me voice messages, so I can put that on and put it to the microphone, and hopefully everybody will be able to hear it. And then after that we'll do an artik. Maybe somebody, in Gauranga Prem, there's Devavrata now. Somebody can, when Gauranga Prem comes back, they could just ask him if he can get an artik tray together. We'll do this is actually coming directly from Jai Pataka Maharaj, just as his instruction. And then after that, we'll take Prasadam out on the lawn. They made a little feast for Parvat. Let me just answer this here. Haribol Devavrata. So we're going to chant a little bit first, but we're ready for you at 10:30, like I said, if that's okay.
Okay, I'm just calling to let you know that I'm ready.
Okay, okay, so we'll chant for about 5-10 minutes, and then you'll be the first person to speak.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
That's good.
You want to call me then?
Yeah, I'll give you a ring.
Okay, thank you.
So you were able to hear that. That made it through the mic, right? When he was speaking through the phone? Okay. Might have to turn the mic up a little bit, but okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirbhashesha Sunyabadi Paschacha Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. His Grace Parvat Muni Prabhu Ki Jai. Go Premanand. Okay, anyway, in preparation for this, I did a little research on the internet and, Vedabase and like that. And I found some things that were very interesting and and relevant to what's going on today. I'm just going to try to do some. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll read this even before Deva Vrata speaks because it'll help us appreciate what he's going to say more. So I was not doubtful, but I just, it's been a while since I kind of thought about this, and I was trying to remember things if I'd heard Prabhupada say anything that if you die in the holy dham, if you leave your body in the holy dham, you're going back to Godhead. So I was kind of a little bit fuzzy on it. I started off, I asked Rabindranath what he remembered, and he remembered something from a lecture Prabhupada gave in Vrindavan on the nectar of devotion. And I found that, and this is the excerpt from that lecture that's relevant. Prabhupada said, so we should be very careful that even in Vrindavan, if we miss the point, if we are attached to something, then we have to accept another life, either as beast or tree. Of course, the chance will be given to become a tree and beast in Vrindavan. That is also profitable, because next life he's going back home, back to Godhead. So that was one. That's significant, because if you die in Vrindavan and you don't blow it, so to speak, you don't make offenses, and then you're going back to Godhead at the end of that lifetime, and even if you're, as Prabhupada said, if you miss the point, then you come back as a tree or a beast in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada says that is also profitable, because next life, just one life as a tree or a beast, then you go back to Godhead. So, pretty good. Now, I might as well put this in here now. Vrindavan, you say, well, wait, why are you talking about Vrindavan? Parvat Muni left his body in Mayapur. Well, someplace else I found this. Okay, here we go. It is said that the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, Mayapur is said to be the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is said that Krishna appeared along with his brother Balaram as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. These two brothers appeared just for the fallen conditioned souls of this Kali Yuga to bestow on them the greatest blessings of Harinam Sankirtan, based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Along with their associates, the Panchatattva, they distributed the divine love of Godhead to anyone and everyone without seeing any qualifications or disqualifications. Here it comes. Mayapur is where the material and spiritual worlds meet. Just as there is no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna, similarly, there is no difference between Sridham, Mayapur, and Vrindavan. So, does that sound accurate to you, Bhargava Prabhu? Did you hear that statement? Does that sound? Yeah. That's, okay, well, maybe hang on. Let me leave that for the end because I don't want to get sidetracked here. So, anyway, let me just read that sentence again. Mayapur is where the material and the spiritual worlds meet. Just as there is no difference between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna, similarly, there is no difference between Sridham, Mayapur, and Vrindavan. Okay, so having established that, there's some other things here about the significance of dying in either the, Mayapur and Vrindavan. This is some statements from the Viraha Purana. It is said, those who die in 20 yojana, 160-mile area of Mathura become perfect and attain the spiritual destination. The deaf, dumb, blind, foolish, they who have no austerity or sense control, who in the course of time die in Mathura, go to Lord Vishnu's palace. They who, bitten by a snake, killed by a wild beast, consumed by flames, or drowned in water, if they die in Mathura, they attain the planet of Lord Hari. A human, worm, insect, moth, bird who goes to Mathura and dies there becomes reborn as a four-armed resident of the spiritual world. O Goddess, they who die in this holy place, in a home there, in a home here, in a courtyard or on the road, attain liberation without any doubt. The worms, insects, birds, and other creatures who die here, and the trees that fall down from the riverbanks here, all attain the supreme destination. So, if you leave your body in the holy Dham, Mayapur, Vrindavan, Mayapur, that's what's said in the Shastras here. Okay, so I have something which I'll read later. It was about dying in general. It was a nice memory that from Hari Sari's book, Transcendental Diary, where there was a disciple of Prabhupada who was diagnosed with cancer, and she came with a mother to Vrindavan, and she was kind of very emotional. And I'll read later on what Prabhupada said to her. But now I'll give Deva Vrata a ring, and he can start sharing with us his experience of being there in Mayapur when sorry, my brain's not working here for a second, sorry. Okay, when Parvat Muni arrived, thank you. Let me just find David Roth. Okay, here we go. Okay, David Roth, we're ready for you.
Okay, can you hear me properly?
Yeah, let's see. Go ahead, speak now, because I'm holding you next to the microphone. Let's see if it works.
Hare Krishna.
Is that loud enough, everybody? Okay. Yeah, go ahead now. They could hear.
Okay. Okay. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshudam Manitam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to come participate in His Grace Parvat Muni's Memorial Festival. So I have a few things I would like to say about Parvat Muni personally, but the primary part of my glorification is going to be about his journey going back home, back to Godhead. So the first thing I'd like to say is that Parvat Muni was one of the first devotees I met when I moved to LA, and I met him dancing in kirtan, and I was very moved by how someone of such large stature could be dancing so ecstatically. So he's very enthusiastic, and from the moment I met him, he was very enthusiastic about Sankirtan, Prasadam, dancing in kirtan. And so one thing that I'll never forget about him is that he would always pay full dandavats to any of the devotees that he saw. And he was doing this practically until the end of his life. So that was something I found to be really extraordinary, looking back on just his behavior. Any person that he saw that was a devotee, he would always make it a point to pay full obeisances. And even when his health was really bad, he was making it a point to pay full obeisances, even though it was very challenging for him. So that's just a few first things, but now I'm just going to move into the large part of what I would like to speak about, which is his journey back home, back to Godhead, which I feel glorifies him, but also just the process of devotional service, and how anyone who dedicates themselves to serving Srila Prabhupada's mission the way Parvat Muni did, and in any capacity that was of the same degree of seriousness as Parvat Muni, is guaranteed to be protected by Krishna. So the story begins in Atlanta back in September of 2022. Myself and Brigupati Prabhu and practically the entire LA ashram went to Atlanta for His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj Shravanam Kirtanam camp. It was a really wonderful camp, and what prompted us going there was that the guys from Atlanta had come for Jamashtami. In the process of them coming for Jamashtami, they invited us all to come for the Shravanam Kirtanam camp, and Parvat Muni took it very seriously. Practically, as soon as he got the invitation, I think he bought a ticket that same day. And then gradually all the rest of us also decided to go. So when we were there, on two separate instances, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, I don't believe that he had any prior association with Parvat Muni. To my knowledge, I don't think he did. He may have. But I don't know if he knew him by name. But regardless, on two separate instances, he called Parvat Muni over and addressed him by name and said, "Parvat Muni, you're going to leave soon. You got to go to Mayapur. You got to go to India." And it happened twice, like I said, two separate instances. So it happened once, and then he called him over again, and he said the same thing. So I remember being with Parvat Muni when we were driving to the Harinam that we were going to have in downtown Atlanta, and I think Brigupati Prabhu was sitting with me, and we were going to the train, and Brigupati Prabhu and Parvat Muni started speaking with each other and saying, what he said, and Parvat Muni was saying, this is what he said. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to Mayapur. He's told me twice. I'm gonna do it. So I was leaving for India right after this particular festival. So I didn't really know what was going to happen, and like how Parvat Muni was going to get to India and how it was going to fully materialize. And I kind of honestly forgot about it because it was just, like a small blip within the course of a large weekend that had many things happen. But flash forward to January of 2023, I got a call from Brigupati Prabhu, and he was saying how he was dropping Parvat Muni off at the airport, and he was asking if I knew anyone in Mayapur that could help him find housing. And I told him, well, I'm in Mayapur now. And Brigupati said, oh, that's great. Can you help him find a place to stay? Now, when Brigupati Prabhu asked me this, I was a bit taken back because, for one, I was assisting my Guru Maharaj in many services in Mayapur at that time, and secondly, coming in January and February, as many devotees will know, especially when Gaur Purnima falls earlier in March, which it was, is extremely difficult to find a place to stay in Mayapur unless you've made prior arrangements months before. So Mayapur is packed, and it's difficult to find a place to stay on the campus and off the campus, and that's for financial reasons and also for just space reasons. It's just extremely difficult. But regardless, I told Brigupati Prabhu I would do the best that I could, and I had a few ideas on how I could make it happen. So I agreed on the basis of thinking, in my course of kind of discussing with Brigupati Prabhu about Parvat Muni's situation, is that I saw it as that, you know, Krishna is bringing Parvat Muni back home, back to Godhead. And so I either had the choice to, you know, help be an instrument in assisting him in that, or I had the choice to kind of neglect it. So I wanted to help him. So I started, you know, trying to make arrangements in Mayapur, which I didn't really know how it was going to begin. But I told Brigupati Prabhu the best thing to do is if you could put together a request letter for me, and I could try to get him settled in the Brahmachari ashram. Because I had gotten letters for the Brahmachari ashram in the past and have been able to get prasadam in the Brahmachari hall. So Brigupati Prabhu started speaking with Mayapur, and Mayapur put together a letter on behalf of the LA temple. So he sent that to me before Parvat Muni arrived. So when Parvat Muni arrived, Brigupati Prabhu told me that he's not going to have a cell phone, and no one's going to know like where he's going to end up when he gets there. So it was like this whole mystery about like this like whole 24-hour period, which was like a big mystery as to when is Parvat Muni going to arrive. So I really didn't know what to expect, but regardless, the way I found Parvat Muni was actually due to Lord Nrsingadev, interestingly enough. Generally, it's so crowded in the morning program. I was chanting my Gayatri during the end of Nrsingadev Arti, and right near the end of my Gayatri, Parvat Muni walks right in front of me. So, you know, I get up and I go chase him down, and I kind of, you know, let him know, like, hey, like, where are you staying? What can I do to help you? And he told me that he had arrived at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he just kind of left his bags outside of the building, went and bathed inside the Brahmachari ashram, put on fresh clothes, and then went into the Mangal Arti without, you know, kind of worrying about his stuff. So anyways, I went out, and we kind of found his things where they were. He didn't even know his things were. He was trying to describe it to me. So just kind of based on what I knew about Mayapur, I was navigating him around. And we brought his stuff to a safe place, and we left it there. And then I told him, today we're going to get you settled in the Brahmachari ashram. So that day, I brought him to the Mayapur management office, and we were speaking to the Mayapur general manager, and I had this letter. And it was this whole thing to, you know, get him settled there, but the Mayapur general manager ended up agreeing to it. And he said, you can have 7 days in the ashram, and I told him that we're working on getting letters from Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, Giriraj Swami, and, you know, once we have these letters, we can bring them to you, and then we can get him, like, you know, a more permanent place. And he said, that's fine, just, you know, he can stay in this place for 7 days, and then after that, he's going to have to, you know, move on if you don't have those letters. So regardless, Brigupati Prabhu and I were confident that we'd be able to produce these letters. So then, after he gave approval, we went out to the Mayapur manager's secretary's office, and there's these 2 Bengali boys who kind of do all like the paperwork for the manager. So they started filling up all this paperwork, and then right when the paperwork was all done, they told Parvat Muni, they said, all right, Parvat Muni, welcome to Mayapur. You're staying in this room. Now, if you want to do any service for Radha Madhav, if you want to make flower garlands, if you want to help in the pujari kitchen, if you want to do some cooking, you can do any service that you like. You're welcome to do anything you like. And then once you're settled here, you'll have a permanent place, so you can stay here. But it was just like, that was like the first instance of seeing like how much Mayapur was like welcoming Parvat Muni so seamlessly. So the next couple of days consisted of a lot of phone calls back and forth between me and Brigupati Prabhu, myself typing up drafts, Brigupati Prabhu sending out those drafts to Giriraj Swami and Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. but we weren't really hearing back from them. So I went to bed one night, and then I kind of woke up around like 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I saw that Brigupati Prabhu had left me a message. And he had said, I've sent an email to the JPS office. Can you make sure that they receive this email? Acharya Narottam Prabhu has told me that Jayapataka Maharaj is very responsive to his godbrothers. So can you please ensure that the JPS office gets this letter and then it gets to Jayapataka Maharaj? So I kind of read that message, or I listened to it, and then I kind of just put it in the back of my mind that, okay, tomorrow I have to go, meet with the JPS office. And then I just went back to sleep. So when I fell asleep, I had a dream. And in this dream, we were in front of the Panchatattva extension hall in Mayapur, which is a big courtyard. And there's about 200, 300 devotees who are all gathered around. And within the middle of them, there was a circle that was 10 feet to 20 feet wide in diameter, so it was empty in the middle. And in the middle of the circle was Jayapataka Maharaj and Parvat Muni. And Parvat Muni came up to Jayapataka Maharaj, fell on his knees, and then Jayapataka Maharaj caught Parvat Muni's hands. And Jayapataka Maharaj told him, everything's going to be okay. You're welcomed here. Everything's going to be okay. And then Parvat Muni was basically, crying and just like how happy he was. And he turned to me and he started pointing to me and telling Jayapataka Maharaj, he said, that's Devavrata, that's Devavrata. He's trying to help me while I'm here. So I can't. So then he said, Devavrata, he can't see you. Come out. Come out. So I was behind a bunch of people in that crowd of people. So I came forward. And then when I came forward, I saw Jayapataka Maharaj, I saw Parvat Muni, and then I paid full dandavats. And then when I paid full dandavats, I woke up from my dream, and that was the morning. So then, we started making various arrangements with Achintya Chaitanya Prabhu, who's one of Jayapataka Maharaj's secretaries in Mayapur. He runs the JPS office, and we started sending various emails. And then we finally had arranged that Jayapataka Maharaj would meet with Parvat Muni, and it was unclear when the date was going to be, but we were going to know soon. So then, about 2 nights after this, I went to bed early, but when I woke up in the morning, I saw that I had about 10 missed calls from Parvat Muni, so I didn't know what happened. So then the next day I spoke with Parvat Muni, and he told me that he went up to Jayapataka Maharaj's quarters for Jayapataka Maharaj's Chaitanya Bhagavat class that evening. And after the Chaitanya Bhagavat class, one of his secretaries had asked him to stay, that Jayapataka Maharaj wanted him to stay back. And it turns out that everything that happened in my dream basically took place in Jayapataka Maharaj's quarters that evening. Jayapataka Maharaj said, welcome to Mayapur, you can stay here forever. And he hugged Parvat Muni, and he said, I'm going to put you in the senior brahmachari ashram. And that was pretty much the end of it. It was like, it was confirmed that Parvat Muni was going to be staying in Mayapur. So then, after that, I basically didn't need to be so much involved anymore. So I kind of took a back seat, and then while I was in Mayapur, Parvat Muni, last time I saw him, he was going to see Yudhishthira for lunch. And then that same day was the day that he was put into the hospital. And I didn't really know that he was in the hospital until, about, I think, like 3 or 4, maybe 7 days afterwards. And then I was going to be leaving Mayapur, and Brigupati Prabhu told me that the whole situation was in Yudhishthira's hands now. So what I saw from all of this, and just kind of being involved with the situation on like a ground level in the initial stages, was that everything that was going on with getting Parvat Muni to Mayapur was completely being organized by Krishna. And everyone involved in it, it just became so seamless. We really didn't have to do much. It's just Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was bringing Parvat Muni back home, back to Godhead. And I remember Parvat Muni told me the first day he was there that, I don't have anything else to see, Prabhu. I'm staying here forever. And he kind of, planted his cane on the ground. So it was really incredible to be a part of it. And I feel very grateful to have served him in any capacity, although there's a lot more I wish I could have done. But So, you know, to be involved with his, getting him settled in Mayapur, I consider to be a really wonderful blessing, and thing that I'll cherish in my heart forever, just to see how Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes care of his devotees in all circumstances. So I'm sure you all have a long program to go, so I don't want to, I've already taken so much time, but thank you all for tolerating this long story. And Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Deva Radha Prabhu. That was ecstatic. Thank you very much. Suhas, would you like to speak next? You want to be the next speaker?
I can say a few words now, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I can say something.
Okay. Just before you speak, just as I was coming in, thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Just as I was coming into the temple, I saw Braj Balas. He was actually kind of in front of me, and he was entering. So I said, Prabhu, if somebody leaves their body in Mayapur, do they go back to Godhead? And he went like this. He went, 100%. He says, where is the doubt? You know? Yeah. So that even further confirmed it for me, you know? Go ahead, please. Swaspu.
Haribol. Jai. Parvat Muni Prabhu Ki Jai. Yeah, I've had a long relationship with Parvat Muni Prabhu for many, many years, off and on. And just thinking about his particular lifestyle and what he was doing, it really is impressive in terms of where he ended up. He was kind of, you know, in and out of temples, you know, for many years. He was here for a while, then he'd go somewhere else and come back, and then, you know, and he kind of lived as a nomad, so to speak, in his vehicle, in his van. And, you know, he was always searching for some situation where he could be comfortable and engage in Krishna service. So, but he was much of like a nomad kind of person. He liked to travel around. He liked to move around and be in different places. So it was very difficult to find a nice spot. So he finally found it here in New Dwarka for the last 10 years or so. I know he's been in the area and in and out, traveling, going to festivals, or something like he went to Krishna Life in Atlanta. These are the kind of things he enjoyed doing, which is really Krishna's mercy that he could actually do it. And he's always been very dedicated, very sincere. I've never known him to not be. He was very enthusiastic about serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. He liked to cook. He'd help with the Sunday feast with Ratnabhushana. It was a big thing. He looked forward to it, and he enjoyed it. So he did that for quite some time. And that was an off and on kind of thing also, because he would move around. But I think overall, the impressive thing that I feel was, just amazing, was that knowing him and how he did and what he did, and being able to get to Mayapur and leave his body and go back to Krishna, it was just incredible. Just that whole scenario, and it just really synchronized me in terms of like how merciful Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Because really, there's so many devotees that do so many wonderful things, and they serve for so many years, but how many really get an opportunity to leave their body, like in the Holy Dham, like in Mayapur or Vrindavan? Who is that person or persons that have had that opportunity? And we can see that it's not just because you're some big leader or you're a sannyasi or you're a guru that opportunity is going to be there. It's not guaranteed. You don't know what's going to happen, where it's going to happen. And I was really impressed by the fact that he was prepared to go to Mayapur. He was prepared. He was psychologically prepared. I had a couple of conversations with him, and not that I convinced him to go. He was going to go. I just wanted to support his idea, and was just supportive in the whole scenario, the whole consciousness, and stick it out, do this. I remember having one conversation where I said, you like to travel around. Don't let that happen to you when you go to Mayapur. Don't go anywhere, stay there. And he said, yeah, I'm determined. So on his own, he made that decision, and he stuck it out. Sometimes people go somewhere and they think they're going to do it, but when they get there, it's too scary. It's really to accept the end of something is extremely difficult. especially death. So he went there with that idea that he was going to pass from this world there. And I really congratulate him in all respects that he was able to accomplish that goal. And if I can be so lucky as to have that opportunity, that would be Krishna's arrangement. So all glories to Parvat Muni Prabhu, who actually accomplished what all of us want to do. And he actually did it. He made it. All glories to Parvat Muni.
Thank you. So Giriraj Maharaj sent a voice message just came in from Mahatma Prabhu. But I'll before I play that, I'll read what Giriraj Maharaj, a letter he wrote. It says, "Dear Parvata Muni Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said that when a Vaishnav departs, we feel simultaneously happy and sad. We feel happy because we know that the Vaishnava has gone to serve Krishna, but we feel sad because we will miss the Vaishnava's association. In your case, I am also happy that you no longer have to suffer in your disease-ridden body. You were a staunch servant of Srila Prabhupada and his parampara, a great soul, and I am sure that they have appreciated your service and will bless you. I miss you, but I look forward to the time when we will be reunited in what Srila Prabhupada called the ISKCON in the spiritual sky. In the meantime, I will try to serve you in separation by serving the people and the causes dear to you. I love you, Hare Krishna, your eternal servant, Giriraj Swami." Wow. Okay. Let's see if I could find. Okay. So Mahatma sent a voice message. We'll play that.
Hare Krishna to everyone. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My obeisances. Ragupati Prabhu asked me to speak a few words about Parvat Muni. I believe I first met him in 1979. I was living in Los Angeles Temple, and I was working on a program where we would meet people in their homes, do programs in their homes, amongst other things. And that's how I met him. There was a group of them. It was about 5 devotees, friends and family. And so Parvat Muni became quite attached to me because I was his first contact in Krishna consciousness, and subsequently he moved to San Diego and I was in San Diego. So we spent a lot of time together. Sometimes he would help me. He took a liking for me, and then we lost touch because I had started moving around the world, and he had then left Krishna consciousness for a while, and I was just in Mayapur, and I got to see him in February, and I had an intuition he was going to be leaving his body even before I arrived in Mayapur, but I got to see him. I felt that was auspicious. I felt this could be the last time. And he was very emotional to see me because of that initial connection. And I kept it up. He would call me often, and we would talk. He would tell me what he was doing. And after he had left Krishna consciousness for a while, he came back with a lot of enthusiasm, as you know if you know him. And when he was in Mayapur, I saw him in the hospital, and he was not able to leave the hospital while I was there. He wasn't well enough, and he was in such anxiety that he was missing Mangalarti. It was just amazing how enthusiastic he was. He said, I don't want to be here. I want to be in the Brahmacharya ashram. I'm missing Mangalarti. I'm missing class. I'm missing this, I'm missing that. And he couldn't even stand up. So it was quite amazing to see that kind of devotion. He was crying a lot. Missing his devotees crying, seeing me. I wanted to pacify him. So I would joke with him. I said I was going to marry him, and when he dies, I'm going to get his alimony. Trying to, pick him up a little bit. But it was auspicious. Krishna arranged that he would come to Mayapur. It was auspicious. Yudhishthira Prabhu was there taking care of him. That was auspicious. I got to see him. That was a strong desire of his. And I think everything was just worked out according to Krishna's plan. And if a devotee dies in the Dham, and his body was breaking down, so for him to live a long life is not really that, valuable, or it would be difficult. So I think we can all be happy that he had a glorious ending of his life in the Holy Dham. And Hare Krishna.
Jai. I just wanted to follow up on something Devavrata said in his talk about Parvat Muni and the Kirtans. Everybody remembers. That was a phenomenon. Marble floors don't usually shake, but he I guess he weighed so much, and the way he danced, it was just like you almost felt like the floor was kind of vibrating. He was really, right? Remember the way he used to jump and dance? He had such a big body. It was really, yeah, right. It was quite a sight. But he had a great service attitude. I don't know if devotees are aware, but he was always just, whenever he was healthy enough, he was always dying to get into the kitchen. He made cookies that we used to take out on Harinam, and he would spend his own money and go to buy the boga, and he'd go into the kitchen and make a fruit salad for the devotees, nice fruit salad, yogurt, and like that. You didn't have to, nobody had to ask him to do service. He was always, whenever he was healthy enough, he always wanted to do service, and the kitchen was his place. And he came out with us on Sankirtan a couple times as well, and that was, that was fun. Yeah, just so anybody else would like to say something? Guranga Prem.
So when I got the news that Parvat Muni Prabhu passed away in Sridham Mayapur, immediately I realized that the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is actually true, because Parvat Muni is actually a perfect example of that teaching. He is completely on the platform of the spirit soul. He is a really very brave and great personality. I immediately got that kind of understanding. And Parvat Muni Prabhu, he has definitely set up perfect example for all of us, because sooner or later we are all going to die. And he showed us how to die in Krishna consciousness. He is definitely going back home, back to Godhead now. As Lord Krishna, confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Yang yang vapi smanam bhavam tyajanti ante karevanam tam tam evadi konteya sadada bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Parvat Muni Prabhu ki jai.
Jai, thank you. Okay, I have something here from Yudhishthira. Does everybody here know Yudhishthira? He's an old devotee. He lives based in San Diego, and he actually basically lives in Mayapur now with his wife, and they come back periodically for visa issues and things like that. But he sent something. So let me do this here.
Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. This is Yudhishthira Das. And excuse the background noise. I'm in Arizona visiting my brother who's on his deathbed. so I'm having to go outside. I first met Parvat Muni in 1980, or somewhere around 1980, when he moved into the San Diego temple. He had been Mahat Sevadas, Mahatma Sandamani, and some other devotees were going to Wilmington in the South Bay of Los Angeles, and they would have programs and they were preaching there. And Parvat became more and more enthusiastic and interested, and eventually moved in the temple. And he was always, everyone knows Parvat, he was always enthusiastic. In fact, back in those days, he was kind of just, had so much energy that it would, well, because I'm not so advanced, it would grate on my nerves sometimes. He was just bubbling over with energy. And, but Parvat always, even in those days like that, he always had a big open heart, Parvat didn't have a lot of envy, even then, He was always kind to all the Vaishnavas and always had just a big heart. So I didn't see Parvat for quite a few years, and then I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10, 15, in San Diego, I saw him. And it was good to see him again, and we reconnected. And then, I saw him now and then. And then this last year, I was in Mayapur Dham, living in Mayapur Dham, or actually just a few months ago. I was in Mayapur Dham, and Parvat showed up, and he wanted to take me out to eat. Prabhupada was always giving, and I've heard more stories about that since he left. And he wanted me to, take me out to eat at Govinda's. And I was involved in a few things, and I was a little sick, so I kept putting it off. But then finally I told him, Parvat, let's do it today. So we went to Govinda's, had a great time reminiscing, and Parvat telling me about his book distribution adventures. He'd been distributing books. And back in the day when I first met him, that was one of his services that he started doing, was distributing books. He was very enthusiastic about sharing Krishna consciousness. And so anyway, we got caught up at Govinda's, and then he went over to my house, saw my deities. He really liked my house. He kept telling me, don't you ever move from here. And so we spent about maybe 3 hours together. And then he left, and about an hour later, I got a call from him. He said, I'm in the emergency room. I'm at the hospital. I had to be rushed to the hospital. I can't walk. And so I went and saw him immediately. And since I was his only old friend there, it kind of, watching over him kind of fell into my lap. And of course, I couldn't not do it, here's a wonderful Vaishnava and needs assistance, So Parvat was in this area in that small community hospital, the Mayapur Community Hospitals, which is run by it's all ISKCON doctors and nurses, most are initiated disciples. A wonderful doctor that oversees everyone named Dr. Suki, who, watched over Parvat till the end. He's a very saintly person that just gives and gives and gives, And he, and Dr. Suki said that in his condition, he's got to be watched over 24 hours. From the gate, Dr. Suki told me that if, because of all the different things that were wrong with the non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver, and, he had kidney problems, it was wrecking everything, and he said he couldn't, he had to have 24-hour care. And he also said that he could have a heart attack at any second and just go, because of the weakened heart, and, I don't know, I don't understand it all. So we had the task of trying to find Parvat 24-hour care in Mayapur, which, I hadn't been there long. I didn't, it's a whole different world operating in India. So, but Parvat was in this space that wasn't meant for patients that should stay for a long time. It was, very hectic, and they weren't used to the type of care that Parvat needed, because, he didn't have a lot of control over his faculties and stuff. So, so it was not an easy service. So all glories to those caregivers over there, the nurses, and Dr. Suki. And so it took a couple months to get all that together. It was very stressful. But Parvat, you know, sometimes he'd just tell me, "Get me out of here." But most of the time he was preaching. You know, anybody that would walk in that area, you know, that was sick, he'd say, what was his famous tagline? Jai Nityananda Jai Garanga, or I forgot it.
Nitai Garanga, Hari Hari Bo.
And he'd say, "Go to Hari." But he'd yell that to anybody that walked in. I forgot what it was. But it was something like Jai Gornitai, go to Hari. And so he would, you know, they all grew fond of him in there, even though it was difficult caring for him. And then, you know, we were trying to find caregivers and, you know, 24 hours. Finally, by the mercy of Jayapataka Swami, and because, you know, they just couldn't care for him over there, we were forced to look, and Jayapataka Swami and his wonderful assistant, Varaha Prabhu, arranged for a nice crew to help Parvat, and we moved him into a room over in at one of the guest houses, and we had 24-hour care, and the wonderful caregiver, Lakshmi Nrsimha Das, you know, who was an experienced caregiver, and many others, and so he was there, and you know, I would see him, visit him through all of this, and he would a lot of times he'd just look at me, talk, and he'd say, "How do I deserve this?" Not meaning how do I deserve this suffering, but how do I deserve that I'm in Mayapur Dham and I'm going to leave, you know, here. Other times he'd be crying. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I'm going to leave. I'm going to miss all the devotees," you know. And he would cry, and this would happen often, very often, you know. And then other times we would get more serious. He would serious to say, you know, "I'm scared," but most of the time it wasn't really. He was really accepting, and Krishna, you know, kept him long enough so he was ready to go. He would say, "I'm ready. I want to go back home. I want to go back home," you know. And sometimes I'd be sitting there and he'd look and he'd say, "Krishna really likes that mango juice, doesn't he?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you think we'll have enough?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Lee, right there, he's drinking mango juice. He's drinking all the mango juice." I said, "Don't worry, Parvat, we'll get more if we need it." And other times he was kind of in this mood of separation for Mayapur when he was there. Even though he was there, he would say, "Yudhisthira, are we gonna go to the airport?" I said, "What for, Parvat? Why do we want to go to the airport?" He said, "I gotta get to Mayapur. I gotta get to Mayapur. I can't stay here." And he thought he was in Los Angeles. He thought he was actually in Wilmington, you know, where he's from, at his childhood home or something. I'd say, "No, Parvat, the only airplane you're going to take is a flower airplane when you leave." And he, you know, so he would get in this moods of deep, and for I was kind of disturbed. I mean, it was disturbing. It was hard because he'd be in anxiety. But then I was thinking, this is actually, you know, feeling separation from the holy Dham, you know. And so he was very into, and then other times like I said, he'd cry loud. And it's another one he'd just say, "Thank you, Yudhisthira, thank you," and cry, you know. He was just always, and he was praising the Vaishnavas. And it wasn't easy, it wasn't for him, you know. Parvat's a big guy, and it wasn't easy for the caregivers either, like rolling him over and making him, sometimes he just would get real stubborn, and I'm not going to let him do this, you know. And I have to go there and tell him, sometimes he goes, "I'm going to hit somebody." You know, he'd be half smiling, but he'd try to look serious. I tell him, "Hit me, Parvat, and then let's get this done," you know. And then he would crack up laughing, and we'd be able to take care of him. But yeah, Parvat, you know, I've known him when he first came, and who he was when he left. You know, Parvat made amazing changes in himself, and as all you know, I was surprised, or I was amazed, I should say, at all the friends he has all over and how much they love him because he has that big open heart, and he's a simple person, has a, you know, simple in the good way, you know, that he wasn't complicated. And he loved the devotees, you know. Whenever any devotees would come in, I remember when he would say, when I said the catchphrase, he'd say, Nitya Gauranga, Goda Hari, and he'd yell it. And when he was at the hospital, and he kept doing that when he could speak well, you know, before he left. When anybody came in, he'd say that. He'd yell it, and that was his kind of catchphrase. And, yeah, he was ready to go, but it was sad when because I had to, my visa ran out, and right now I'm in the U.S., I had to come back, and, for, you know, a couple months. And when I left, he was, you know, crying, and I told him I missed him, that I loved him, and then but we had a nice crew there. There's this nurse there named Prayojana, and she's kind of the community nurse. She's, you know, like the Mother Teresa of Mayapur, and she was checking on him all the time, and Panchajanya was kind of in charge of the crew of having the 24-hour caregivers and prasadam sent over there, everything Parvat needed, and there was, people were coming in and doing kirtan for him, and then, you know, I had the video that they sent me when he left. Right after he left, there was a bunch of Matajis singing very sweet kirtans, and Parvat left his body in the holy dham, in Darya Dham, with all these wonderful devotees chanting the holy name. So, you know, all glories to Parvat Muni. Oh, and also I want to say, he always talked about the Los Angeles devotees and how much he loved them, especially Brigapati did so much for Parvat. I did nothing compared to what Brigapati's done, you know, to try to help, and you know, and he just said how much he loved all the Los Angeles devotees and how much he missed them, and he was so grateful to Savas and all of you devotees there. Parvat had a special love for the Los Angeles devotees, and all the devotees all over so many devotees all over the U.S. knew him and loved him, and we still love him, and he's there. He's in the spiritual world now, there's no doubt. You know, the fix was in, and Parvat left, and it's a wonderful thing. So anyway, I'm sorry for going on so long. Dandavat pranams at all your feet. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. You're just here, Prabhu. Maybe he's listening in. Yeah, it was wonderful. Mother, with the Gopi, I think you mentioned to me last night when I was speaking to you on the phone that they had a program for him in the Tucson. Was it you who told me? They had a program for him in Tucson. The devotees there, Mother Sandamini, and you know, he spent some time there. So they did a little memorial service for him as well. So, yeah. You want to speak? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, sure. Chari Narottam, would like to say something? They're very good friend of Prabhu.
Hi, Krishna. So, I spent a lot of time with Parvat Muni the weeks or months before he left, because every time I was coming to the temple, I was sharing the room with him. So we were sharing the room together. So we got to know each other more. Before I was seeing Parvat Muni around the temple, we were seeing in the morning programs. But since I got to spend time with him, living together, so we got to have some more deeply connection to each other. And what I see is that he was very determined, very determined to go to Mayapur, especially after he came back from Atlanta. He was a different person. He came back from Atlanta. He said, I got instruction from a pure devotee of the Lord. I have to go to Mayapur. And he was rushing out to get that accomplished, like getting the visa, getting his passport first, and then getting the visa, and then getting the ticket. So he was very determined. And then, like many Prabhus already said, he was very simple and joyful, and he was very, how to say the word, something that I like about Parvat Muni especially was his attitude. Like, once I remember Guru Prasad Swami said that Krishna consciousness comes down to have the right attitude. And I was observing how Parvat Muni, even though, sometimes he was getting mad, angry, or he had a personality he was very stern personality sometimes. But his attitude, like the attitude of serving the Vaishnavas and Prabhupada, serve the attachment for Srila Prabhupada, going to Mayapur and humility. I was very impressed for how good attitude he had to perform Krishna consciousness. And so I had also a few pastimes with Parvat Muni. I remember I was telling Parvata, you should get your ticket ahead in order to get good price for your ticket. And he said, no, don't worry, Prabhu. I'm talking to this person, this travel agent in the phone, and the ticket is already arranged. I said, okay, Parvata, okay. So he wasn't booking his ticket. And then when I came to the ashram, he said, Acharya, take me to the bank because I need to get the money into my account and then I'm going to book the ticket. And then, yeah, but are you going to book the ticket when? The same day. I'm going to book the ticket today. I said, Prabhu, it's going to be very expensive. If you're going to book the ticket today, it's going to be very expensive. Let's go again. Anyway, we went to the bank. We pulled out the money. He put the money into the other account. And then he called the travel agents. So, and then he was talking to the person. And then he gave me the phone to me. I said, please, you talk to the lady because this is so complicated for me. I cannot handle this. Anyway, I was talking to the person, and that was very expensive. One-way ticket was like $1,200. It was, and then I was trying to help Parvat Muni, and I was trying to convince this person to get the price down. Like from 1,200 to 1,000 or even less than that. And I was begging and begging and begging, and I was able actually to bring the price down from 1,200 to like 1,100 or 1,000 something. And then I was so happy that I was helping Parvat Muni for that, right? So we came back to the temple. He started packing up his luggages and everything, to go to the airport because the same day he was leaving. And then he got a call that the supervisor didn't approve that ticket because something happened with the airline, whatever, and they needed more money. And then he got mad with me because he said, because you were bargaining for the ticket to get it down cheap, look what happened, And I was like, oh my God, I want to help Parvat Muni. I want to help Parvat Muni to save money, and then he's here, getting mad. And I was mad also. I was like, oh my God, one more thing, Parvat Muni. Anyway, but in my mind, I was like, wow, he's leaving very soon. I shouldn't get mad with him, this and that. Anyway, but he ended up paying more for his ticket, and then he went to Mayapur. Parvat Muni, something that actually I was very, very impressed also was his love for Srila Prabhupada, like all the time. He had a Prabhupada picture, right, by his bed, and he used to listen Prabhupada's tapes almost all day. Prabhupada's chanting or Prabhupada's lectures. Like even sometimes when I was coming late at night, to stay overnight for my service next day, he used to have Prabhupada's lectures loud, and he was sleeping, listening Prabhupada's lecture very loud. And I was like, Parvata, I need to sleep. Can you please, lower the volume? And he was, come on, Prabhu, how I am sleep? I am sleeping, I listen Prabhupada's lecture. You tell me you should sleep. I said, Prabhu, but I cannot sleep. This is too loud, But he was very, very attached to listen Prabhupada's lectures, listen Prabhupada's chanting japa, and all the time very, very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, That is actually very big lesson for us. And I pray to Parvat Muni because I told him many times, Prabhu, you are leaving very soon. And when you go home back to Gadhe, please, you gotta talk to Krishna. He can take me also, because you're gonna be there, Parvata. I said, Parvata, please, you gotta help me. So I hope for Parvat Muni, Prabhu will help me in my spiritual life. And all glory to Parvat Muni, Prabhu ki jai.
I didn't know him that well, but I loved his enthusiasm. He was always ready to preach to new people.
Yeah.
And he didn't whine about his health condition. But I once asked Prabhupada if he was present in his pictures, and Prabhupada said, if you think of me, I'm there. So we're all thinking about him here, people who were touched by him. So he might be delaying his return back to Godhead and visiting these different memorials for him. And we've lost some really nice devotees in the last few years, Punyatma and Narnarayan. So you'll be in very good company. And if you are staying around, maybe you can join the two of them in a chorus to Lord Nityananda to deliver the material world. That was Punyatma's desire. He would always be praying to Lord Nityananda to deliver the material world. He used to say with that Scottish accent, "It's only a cloud. It's only a cloud." So I imagine Punyatma's bugging Lord Nityananda, and you can join the chorus and advocate for those suffering souls within the material world as you did while you were here, and advocate for us. We can use an advocate. So that's all I really wanted to say, and enjoy the spiritual world. You deserve it. Don't come back. Don't come back. Just keep bugging Lord Nityananda. He can do the job. Anybody else?
Just before you speak, I have a few pictures I'd like to share with everybody. I was trying to figure out a way to get them up on the screen, but he has a cousin in San Diego, and so his cousin sent me these pictures. That was his cousin's wedding. So he's a big guy, Parvat. One thing about Parvat, he didn't have an aggressive bone in his body, as big as he was. The guy that saw it. That was him at his cousin's wedding. Here's another one. I'm sorry. This is Parvat with his girlfriend years ago. That's him. Who is it? That's him. His best friend.
That was before you did Nityananda, huh?
After Nityananda, because here's the one I really like the best. This is the one I wish we could have gotten a picture of it. There we go, that's on the Venice Beach.
Do you have the picture where they were taking him into to Mayapur Temple? Just recently? After he was in the hospital, he had a really hard time. And he wasn't convinced he was in Mayapur.
I do have that one. I might
Yeah.
be good to do with the find it.
Huh?
I might have to fish around.
Oh, okay, yeah. And they finally got him in a wheelchair and took him into the temple. So he was convinced that he was in Mayapur. Oh. And and that wasn't for him. He knew
So
there was no.
He left his body. He was in the hospital.
No, he was in a guest room, I think at Vamsivasa. They had his guru had arranged.
Let me show you. I got two videos of him. I'll show you this one. The next one is really good. Okay.
Yes,
That's Mother Prabhu.
Is Brahmachari devotees raising to Parvat Muni Prabhu, and right now Krishna Katha. Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol Parvat Muni.
Vamsi Bhavan. We gave him a room in Vamsi Bhavan. Okay, now here's another one. This one's really good. Huh?
Never.
This is his first time?
This is his first time.
That was his first time?
His first time. He didn't even have a passport. He didn't know how to get to India.
That was his first time? Really?
Yeah, he'd never been to
He told me
India.
he went before.
No, he told me he'd never been there.
He told me he went before.
He told me he'd never been to India.
So this is enough. This is a really good one.
No, he told me he went to Vrindavan before.
This is a grumpy Parvat Muni. Get out of my way. Hare Krishna. Nita
No, he told me he went to Vrindavan in the 80s. He told me that.
That's Parvat.
Yeah, that's yeah.
This is like 100% Parvat when he was like.
This is a grumpy Parvat Muni. Get out of my way. Hare Krishna. Nita
For those of you who are watching over the internet, I apologize. I was just showing everybody some pictures, and I showed a couple video clips with the people that are here in the temple room. But now we're going to hear from Mother Amrita Gopi, Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, our glorious Parvat Muni. I had known from afar Parvat Muni years ago when he was here and staying in New Dwarka and would go on Sankirtan. And as mentioned before, he liked to be the cookie guy. He liked to make cookies and take for distribution. Actually, a lot of times he wouldn't even go. He would just send the cookies with the devotees for the Friday and Saturday when we're doing Friday, Saturday night Harinams. But he, at that point in his life, he was brahmachari, you know, and he didn't really feel it appropriate to speak with women. That's my impression, because he would not interact with me face to face. So what happened was that he was having his health issues were starting to become a problem in the last year, and he had been staying in the RV, and his legs had gotten really bad, and my son had asked me to look at him to try to help him, because some nursing ability that I might have, maybe I could help him. So he allowed me to participate in helping him, and that's how we became better acquainted. He had shared with me that he had recently gotten diagnosis from a doctor that he most likely didn't have much longer to live due to his condition, and we talked about some alternatives. He really didn't want anything aggressive. He was like, this is a family condition. Many people in my family have had this, and I'm okay with the diagnosis. But he allowed, and again, he just allowed me to participate in helping with his legs, and he was able to get better. But at that time too is when it started brewing this idea of going to Mayapur. And his determination, was really, really something to aspire for in terms of this is what was going to happen. And the reason with this one-day ticket business that Narottam Acharya had discussed was he was determined to be there by Nityananda's appearance day. That's what he wanted to be there by Nityananda's appearance day, and there wasn't any stopping. By that time, this was February. It was in February this year. And that's what his goal. I want to be there by and he was able to get that accomplished, and through the help of so many devotees. And it's just I'm very grateful for all the devotees that were able to facilitate and participate in making that happen for him. And it's encouraging because we're all going to be in that same, we're all going to be in that same place not too long from now. I'm just maybe a few years older than Parvat, and knowing this can happen in Mayapur, that the team was there to assemble for him. I don't think it was just a serendipitous thing. I think this is a goal for the community there now. They're working very hard to establish that there's care teams to help devotees that want to to accomplish this goal of leaving their body in the Holy Dome. And that's such a lofty, but a practical goal. So right now, Brigapati has worked with devotees. We have some connections there. It's important to support their cause. And I think that if any of you are inclined to do that, Brigapati can give you some contact information for these people that are heading that team up. I want to encourage that. And again, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. They did a great job. It's not easy work. I mean, I was involved with helping my parents as they were leaving, and it's it's hard. It's a very difficult job, and these devotees were doing it. You saw the picture, very happily, with respectfully, devotionally.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Anything they could. And they could when he was in. He'd gotten some. What we found out was that he'd gotten some medication in the hospital that was causing him to most likely hallucinate. And that's when he was imagining that he was in Wilmington, and he did not believe he was in Mayapur. He was convinced that he was still in Wilmington and someone had stolen all of his ID and his money and all this. And this team was trying to deal with him during this and calm him down and convince him that he was in Mayapur, and that one devotee was able to get a wheelchair, but it didn't have a foot rest.
Oh, Jitavrata, yeah.
On the bottom of it. And his legs were such bad condition, he needed something that had a footrest, and he got some boards, and makeshift, made this wheelchair so they could get him in there and get him to the temple so he could see that he truly had achieved his goal of being in the Holy Dome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, that's one of the most heart-touching experiences in all these last couple months that you've shared with me from the caregivers that's gone on. And I was getting, I don't know if you know this, I was getting videos from Parvat to Muni, which I'm sure they were not from Parvat to Muni. They must have been from the care team. They were sending me videos of him.
Jai.
Just just, I guess, for me, it was just encouraging. So all glories to devotees. Thank you. Thank you for all your service.
You want to say something before you go? Puru? You want to? No? Okay. I have something here from a devotee named Brajendra Kumar, who is like a childhood friend of Parvat Muni's. They grew up together in Wilmington, and they both became devotees probably around the same time. So I'll play his.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu's all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and let me offer my obeisances to all of you, all the gathered Vaishnavas there. My name is Brajendra Kumar Das, and Parvat Muni was a dear old friend of mine. We grew up in the same town in Wilmington. I knew him before we got real involved with Krishna consciousness or met any.
This is Dharmaraj's father. You know Dharmaraj? Short, Sankirtan devotee. He's down. Anyway, this is Dharmaraj's father. So if it sounds like, and it's of course.
Devotees living in the temple, but Parvat back home, his nickname was Billy Kai for some reason, and he was he was like a lot of people that grew up in our town. He had different occupations, and he was into cars. He used to renovate Jaguars and sell them and other things. And Parvat was always a very caring, kind, generous person. And in about 1979, I went to New Dwarka for something besides the Sunday feast, and I met Mahat Seva Prabhu, and I told him we wanted to have a program at home, and he took me to meet Mahatma Prabhu, and then Mahat Seva Prabhus, and Sudamani Mata Prabhu started coming once a week on Thursdays. We'd cook prasadam at the house. It was an all-day affair, cook very opulent prasadam, and then friends and family would come, and we'd have this wonderful home program. And then Parvat Muni, Prabhu, old Billy Tyler, from the very beginning, he when he met these practicing nice real Vaishnavas, he became very enthusiastic and very attached to Srila Prabhupada and serving the Vaishnavas. And then they all moved to San Diego, and they would still come from San Diego and do this program. And everyone was very attached to it. I had a little apartment, and it was always full. And then they started coming with the Gunagarahi Maharaj and the crew from San Diego, and Parvat was, he was sold out. So even though we come from a town that Gunagarahi Maharaj named the fourth mode after having to visit for a while, we grew up with some conditioning to contend with. Parvat was always very, very enthusiastic and sold out to Srila Prabhupada, and he loved all the Vaishnavas. So, years went by, and, we were pursuing our Krishna consciousness in different places, and I didn't see him for many years, and then in the last few years, we reconnected because he met up with my son Dharmaraj somewhere. I forgot where they were, maybe New York, or they were again taking shelter of Mother Sudamani in Tucson. They traveled together for a while, and Parvat, he's like family, so him and Dharmaraj became very close, and he took care of my son. He watched over him. And then I remember the first New York Rath Yatra after, sorry, there's a train. Okay, the train passed. Sorry for the interruption. So I sort of forgot where I was, but oh yes, so my son and Parvat, they were in Florida together, and it was the first New York Rath Yatra after the COVID thing was going to happen, and they called me. I live in San Diego now, and they insisted that I come. I fly out, and it was very wonderful. They picked me up, Parvat and my son, and a boy driving that was actually the owner of a Airbnb that they were staying with. Parvat arranged for us. He arranged and paid for to stay. And the boy his mother had been a Vaishnava. She not ISKCON, but she was from India. He was an Indian boy, and he grew up with her worshiping Tulsi, and he ended up hanging out with us and driving us to the Rath Yatra and enjoying. And this was all, I feel, due to my dear friend's generous nature. So it was a wonderful time, and I got to spend with them. It's probably the last time I got to spend with Parvat, or we stayed in contact on the phone. But anyways, I just want to let everyone know that I'm very grateful for what you're doing there for Parvat, what my dear friend Yudhisthira did for him in Sridham Mayapur. And again, please accept my obeisances. And thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Govinda, you want to say something?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I took him to the hospital when he found out that he was going to die soon, and he just started crying. And he said, I got to go to Mayapur. I said, okay. And then I spaced out and lost my passport. I wanted to take him, but yeah, he was, I went to New York Rath Yatra with him one time, and he was always very fired up. He used to call me all the time, make sure I'm doing okay. And he used to tell me, come on, take me to the store. I always had to take him to the store to buy him something, groceries. And every time he saw somebody, he would say, can you say Hare Krishna? And then I would say, did you bring some books? He said, oh, I forgot the books. I said, okay. So anytime we would go, we'd make sure we brought at least a couple of books to distribute. And we used to go to other places too. He used to always try to take me other places around. I met him kind of like I didn't know who he was until like around maybe like 7 years. I didn't know who, until he came here in Los Angeles. I didn't know who he was, and he used to always tell me that he used to buy and sell Jaguars. And now he's done with that. Now he wants to go to the Dom and leave his body. And he was very, very jolly guy. He reminded me of Sridhar Swami a lot. The way his demeanor was, the way he looked, the way he acted. I always told him, "You brought me a Sridhar Swami," you know that. And he was always very, very nice and jolly, very, very, very friendly to me. And I very much loved his association. And he could be a heavy guy sometimes, but he always had a light side to him too. He was always there and to help us, to pick us up in our spirits. And I just regret that I wasn't there to be with him. And I take it now that I'm able to go to India and get serious in my spiritual life and live a nice life like Parvat Muni did, a very dedicated, sold-out man to Srila Prabhupada and Radha and Krishna. He was always very determined in his Krishna consciousness to follow the 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds and always serve his Guru Maharaj and be strong. He always read Prabhupada's books every day. I used to read with him Prabhupada's books every day, and he was a great guy. I follow in his footsteps. I would like to follow in his footsteps, and it was nice to be with Parvat Muni Prabhu. It was great to meet Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I asked Godachandra to contact Gopalananda on Facebook, and he was successful. He was able to. So Gopalananda just sent in something, and I'll read it to everybody. Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances to you and all New Dwarka residents. My name is Gopalananda Das. Many of you know me. I am currently in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and will be relocating to Cueramado and join Krishna Gauranga at their brand new temple. I have known Parvat Muni Das since I was 10 years old. We lived and grew up in the same city, Port of LA, Wilmington. We lived in different parts of town, so we ended up getting to be good friends when we went to high school together. Funny though, we met much earlier in Saturday catechism class for Catholic religion. Our first meeting was centered on God. Who knew? He says, anyways, fast forward, I met Srila Prabhupada in 1972, living in and out of temple. On one occasion, Parvat Muni Das had a really nice 4-door Jaguar car. Yeah, he was really... And we went on a road trip with my cousin Ray and Parvat to a resort beach town called Puerto Penasco, Baja California. While we were there, I was absorbed in whatever preaching I could do all over the beach. I took notice that Parvat was very attracted to my chanting and following. I got on the beach. He would follow me. He would follow me all around, and I could hear him quietly imitating and repeating the Maha Mantra. I did ask him to chant. He did. I can honestly say this about my dear, dear friend. He wasn't an eloquent preacher, kirtan leader, but he brought the most essential quality for all aspiring devotees: sincerity and humility. Thank you, Parvat Muni Prabhu. I'm the best person to read these. Leaving me, sorry. Leaving me with your loving memories and lessons. I could go on, Prabhus. I generally talk too much. So let's leave it there. All glories to Parvat Muni Das. And then he follows up, and then he did send a bit more. He says, later on, some years later, perhaps late 70s, my sister, Jai Shri, working alongside with her husband, Brajendra Kumar Das, that's Dharmaraj's father, who we just heard, and the famous Mahatma Das, they began to have programs weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. The first day Parvat met Mahatma Das, Mahatma said, "You are definitely a devotee." The very first day he met him, he said that. He told Parvat, and soon after, the whole clan of the preaching center joined the temple, San Diego Temple. So Parvat's life really began at his initiation. His Holiness Rameswar gave him the name Parvat Muni Das. He said, Parvat Muni Das is the transcendental traveling friend of Narada Muni. These souls are always tirelessly preaching, and their feet never touch the ground. So your feet should never touch the ground in kirtan. Yes, Prabhus, Parvat had good health, big body, but would dance like crazy back then. And then he ends it by saying, feeling too emotional to speak. Okay. Anybody else like to say anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, my name is Bhakta Lance. I've known Parvat Muni since about 2016 maybe. I met him down the street. He was living in his RV by the mini mart. And I'd always see him here at temple. He was such a sweet devotee. Would always chant Gauranga, Gauranga, Gauranga when I saw him. And he always had a smile on his face, and you know, I didn't realize his health conditions till last year. And if he needed a ride somewhere to the grocery store or to the hospital or somewhere, I'd give him a ride. And you know, if I needed some food, he'd give me some food, and I'd come and visit him in his RV on Venice Boulevard. You know, you can't park on Venice now because of the cones they put up now, but I'll always remember Parvat Muni's RV on Venice, and you know, his smile on his face, and how he loved devotees and everyone around him. And you know, it's sad losing such a sweet soul, and I wish I could have gone to India with him, you know, to send him off back to Godhead. You know, Parvat Muni is like no one else. I saw him at Ratha Yatra last year, and he was so happy to be around other devotees. And every festival we had here at temple, he'd give me cookies and give other people food. But he was a real sweet soul, and I'll really miss his presence here on Watsika, and the other people he blessed. I really wish I could have gone to India with him, but Parvat Muni, Gauranga, 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 you'll be missed. Yeah, I know you're here in spirit with us here at New Dwarka, and yeah, I'm really going to miss you, Parvat Muni, and your smile and the sweetness of your soul. And you know, you've taught me many things. He taught me to keep chanting no matter what happens in my life, and you know, try to do at least 16 rounds a day. And he told me that Krishna will bless me, you know, no matter what happens to us in life. You know, life happens to us, and yeah, Parvat Muni, may you be with Godhead and be with Krishna, and may we see you in the next life. Hare Krishna to Parvat Muni.
Ki Jai.
Ki Jai.
Thank you, Pooh. Appreciate that. I have something from Ananda Kirtan. Okay.
Kalpatarubhishcha Kripasinubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavambhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. I first met Parvat Muni Prabhu not too long ago, 5 or 6 years ago or something, and I just remember him always being a humble, nice, jolly devotee. I have quite a few good memories with him. Used to read with him in his motorhome. I could tell sometimes he would get a little lonely because he was living in a motorhome like 1 block away from the temple, and his health wasn't so good, so he wasn't really able to hang out outside the temple so much. He had to have somewhere to sit where it was comfortable, so he would hang out in his motorhome, and I would go read with him. Sometimes Sachitanoi Prabhu would come. I just remember him always being humble. He would never make offenses, and so many times I heard how he joined the movement, because he's told me almost every time I saw him how Gopalananda Prabhu, Mahatma Prabhu, and a few others, what's his name? That Maharaj from San Diego? No, the other one that left his body. Gunagrahi Maharaj. Yeah, they helped him become devotees, I think in 1979. And how he would did traveling Sankirtan with Tripurari Maharaj for a while. And then he would always say, "It was fired up, Prabhu, you should have been there." Almost every time I saw him, he would tell me the same story. Last time I saw him, I brought, Brigupati Prabhu and myself brought him to the airport to go to Mayapur. He was planning to leave his body because Bhakti Vikas Swami in September 2022 in Atlanta, we went there for Shravanam Kirtanam retreat, and Bhakti Vikas Swami was there. And he told Parvat Muni that, "Parvat Muni, you're going to leave your body soon. You should go to Mayapur, Vrindavan, and prepare to go back to Godhead." And so he took that instruction very serious. And so that's what he did. He went to Mayapur, and I went inside the airport with him, just him and I had to write down all the instructions, like, because he hadn't been to India since the 80s, since the 500th anniversary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. 1986, he went to Mayapur. That was his last time before this time. And so I had to kind of like write down clear instructions, because he had a layover in another country, and where to get his bags, and how to catch a taxi to Mayapur and everything. So he was in a wheelchair in the airport, and I remember, that was the last time I saw him. Gave him a big hug, and helped him get to, the security check-in place. And he called me a few times when he was in Mayapur. Always jolly, never would make offenses to devotees, always very appreciative. Loved Brigupati Prabhu very much, would always glorify him, and tell me how much he appreciated him. And Ratna Prabhu, and Mahatma Prabhu, and so many others. And just a great soul, and he'll be missed. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Parvat Muni is a very grateful person, he was always talking about Mahatma, Gunagrahi Maharaj, people who helped him and, come to Krishna consciousness. He was very grateful, So there's something here from Ishvara Chandrapuri. That's, and we'll play that.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances of Srila Prabhupada. This is Ishvara Chandrapuri Das. Parvat Muni Prabhu, he was extremely humble, like really humble. He never gave any energy towards, criticizing somebody or fault finding anybody. And he was always like extremely helpful. He would always go out of his way to make sure somebody was okay. He was like almost like a little kid in a sense, like his humor, And I'll always remember him for that. That's what I really appreciate about him. And one thing I remember, he used to love making were his Harinam cookies. He used to make, oh my God, I miss those cookies. He would make like boxes of Harinam cookies, and he knew how much I liked them. So like he'd pop up out of nowhere sometimes, and he'd do that little giggle, and he'd be like, "Hey, I got something for you." And it's like, you know, he'd like, you could look behind the doorway, and he's like peeking a box of Harinam cookies. He just like pops out of nowhere, and I used to eat the whole box. And yeah, I miss that about him. We had a good relationship, and like any, you know, relationship with a good friend, sometimes they really get on your nerves. Like he used to really get on my nerves. I remember Gopalanda Prabhu would say, "Yeah, he's like a best friend, but sometimes he could be too much best friend." And I definitely had some moments with him like that. But you know, if you notice, you know, like sometimes he would play too much. I could tell he would feel bad. He would apologize, and I never really took it to heart. You know, like, because I know he really meant well, and he had a big heart, and that's what I'm going to remember him for. I remember him for his big heart and for him screaming his guts out, chanting, "Bolo Hari! Hari Hari Bo! Hari Bo!" Oh, I miss you, Parvat Muni Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's Bhakta Ivan, in case you didn't remember the...
Hare Krishna, one more other thing I remember is, I think he had like plastic or metal knees because he had like knee replacements or something, but somehow or another with all his bad health and like his liver failing on him and everything that he's been through, he was a bit overweight and his bad knees, somehow or another he would always have like the enthusiasm to jump up and down in kirtan. And sometimes I would be thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like that's not necessary to do that, but he would do it anyways. He was just very enthusiastic when it came to kirtan. He would pay obeisances, full obeisances, and I would see that he was in pain trying to get up, but somehow or another he was very dedicated in that sense. Hare Krishna.
Okay, let me make sure I haven't forgot anybody who sent something in here. I think I got everybody. Okay, Prabhu, do you want to say anything? Okay, so how does this sound? Can I have a volunteer to lead a kirtan or do the artik? Do you want to do the artik, Prabhu? Okay, okay. All right, so I can do the artik. Do you know how to lead a kirtan, Prabhu? Okay, all right. All right, either one. So Govinda Basha will lead the kirtan, and I'll do the artik, and that'll be the end. And after that, if everybody can just go out on the lawn by the membership house, we have a nice feast that has been prepared by Acharya Narottam, and Mother Toshini made a cake, and Gaur Shakti helped out as well. He worked with Acharya Narottam, so everybody can come and honor prasadam with us out on the lawn in front of the membership house after the artik and the kirtan. Thank you. Thank you very much. Parvat Muni Prabhu Ki Jai. Use the microphone.
His Grace Parvat Muni Prabhu Ki.